Oh man, time for Family Guy. If you see me out in Quahog, say hi. Now, this is a very special Modern Thoughts, as it was not recommended to me by a subscriber like the past four. Three of those being the same dude, by the way. This one's interesting because this one was recommended to me by my brother. Okay, so for pretty much most of the day, it's Father's Day, obviously. Happy Father's Day, by the way, chat, to any fathers watching this. So, highlight video, okay. Yeah, I don't care about that feature YouTube. I'm trying to talk here. Anyway, I was pretty much out with my family most of the day. However, during the car ride there, my brother suggested to me, hey, this Mountain Thought series and all that, because he likes talking to me about my channel. And he gave me an episode idea, which is this Family Guy episode. First time I'm covering a season finale on Modern Thoughts, and it's the first ever season finale ever covered. I guess there's a Simpsons Tracy Ullman shorts, but looking back, I really don't think I should have even made that my first technical review anyway, but that's a whole other conversation that I don't really think anyone cares about. My first real season finale, and now it's being reevaluated, but I'm not using that crappy software where I showed the rating for other episodes before I even started it. Just watch that video, and it sounds smooth and all that, except for the part where you can just clearly see it. It's so stupid. But that was like my second ever video on YouTube, so I'm gonna cut myself a little bit of slack there. In general, yeah, Brian Portrait of a Dog. When rewatching my segment for it, other than that problem, I think it was a very good review overall. I went over some of my favorite moments, went over the plot, didn't go over the plot as much as I probably should have. Instead, I focused more on just good moments, but then again, it is Family Guy, so I guess I can't blame myself for automatically thinking just tackle the best moments, because that's kind of what Family Guy becomes, just a series of best moments. But there is definitely a plot here. What is the plot of Brian Portrait of a Dog? Pretty much, I really summarized it best when I first tackled it, but I'll restate it because, well, why shouldn't I? The plot of this episode is that it's not Brian, but Peter Funny Man Griffin, needs a new air conditioner because hot day out. So Brian competes in a dog show to help get it, but eventually goes too far for Brian. He's not feeling comfortable with it, so he leaves. He just leaves the dog show. Because of this, Brian and Peester? Who the fuck is Peester? Brian and Peter, they pretty much get very bickery and snippy with each other. Lois is trying her best to keep their friendship intact, but it doesn't really work, and Brian eventually ends up going to the pound, but not in the sexy way, but in the I'm gonna die way. So the family have to all lock in and help him. Except they unfortunately can't be much of help, so it's up to Brian to really plead his case until his case almost doesn't even get heard, and so Peter has to lock in and save his bro. What I love so much about what I like about this episode is the Brian and Peter friendship. I'm confident I mentioned this before, but as much as I do like Brian and Stewie, one of the things I think Modern Family Guy really misses is that original Brian-Peter dynamic. That classic dumb guy and smart guy duo. I know it's overplayed. A lot of shows do it, but it's one of those things where I think it's overdone for a good reason because it just works very well. And watching them here, yeah, it works very well, especially in an episode like this where it's really put to the test. So you go see them kind of like bickering and all that. It really plays off their strengths very well. One thing that I believe should be noted is the racial undertones of this episode. It's only like a few scenes, and especially by the end of the episode, with like the water fountain joke. Well, not even joke, but just seeing. Yeah, you could tell they were kind of subtly making this reference to African Americans and just other non-white races, and them trying to, them having to prove their rights and all that. you could tell by my skin color, but yeah, maybe not the best dude to talk about this. So that's all I'm gonna say. I'm just gonna say I noticed it, but I'm not gonna try to put any real input into it because I am not the person to really discuss that type of thing. Oh, also beyond that though, I think it's just a very good episode. It shows off Brian and Peter. If anything, I believe this is the type of episode you can use to show why classic Brian and Peter work so well as characters. It's not like modern, it's not like post Golden Age Family Guy where they're both just kind of douchebags. Peter's just a sociopath who doesn't care about anything, and Brian's just a hypocrite who doesn't really have real beliefs. Ugh. In this episode, Brian is very smart, very intelligent, would absolutely make fun of the modern Brian, and is overall just a more well developed and just better written character. And so is Peter. Sure, maybe he's a bit similar to Homer Simpson, but I think he's different enough to where he's still his own character. He has a certain aesthetic to him. Him doing stuff like trying to write a letter to MacGyver to help him save Brian. But I do think the scene that really shows off how good Peter is in these early seasons is the backstory. I really like this backstory, and I know it's Family Guy, but man, them retconning it later on to just have Brian be a puppy. No, I really don't like that. Brian, the way they establish it in this episode of Brian being a homeless dog and Peter taking him in and Brian just kind of sticking with him since then is so heartwarming, so awesome. I love that as the backstory so much. It's such a good backstory and shows how much shows how caring Peter can be and how Brian really needed help and Peter was there for him. Again, it really shows off why the two even really became friends in the first place. Other things to point out about this episode is that Stewie talks to three different people. Chris, Meg, and Peter can all understand him at least at one point or another in this episode, which proves that even back then they were very willing to be loosey goosey with this type of thing. And even though I'm not the biggest fan of like the first two seasons of Stewie, as I think starting with season 3 he starts to improve so much more as a character. Even I can admit Stewie was all right in this episode. Better than how he was in like most season 1 episodes. I kind of liked him just being so mean to Brian. It's so weird. This is the part that's the most weird. Seeing him like actively want Brian to like get to die pretty much and all that. Like it's so different. But at the same time, it's one of those things where I think it's kind of funny just how much it's changed. It really shows how much Family Guy has progressed as a show since then. Since from here to like later on, whatever season or area you want to talk about. Was there anything else I want to mention about this episode? Well, I will say that wacky Family Guy-ness, that weird style of humor that can be a little pop culture and all that, it wasn't that bad in this episode. And by that I mean they used the jokes as like comedic relief for the plot, but it doesn't. But unlike Family Guy, again, pretty much how Family Guy is post revival, the wackiness doesn't just become the show. In these first 3 seasons, especially, the wackiness is more of like a backdrop. Like we have a real story going on, but there are a ton of random other jokes. Like the Pillsbury Doughboy, don't know if I said that right. Just getting like completely killed by Lois. Like that's the type of thing I mean, or like a flashback of Peter and Brian being old school cartoons. We can have these wacky dumb jokes, but as long as like the actual plot remains intact, then yeah, we can have all these other random jokes in that. And to my knowledge, there's only really 2 dated jokes in this episode that I found. So, I mean, it is 1999, and given that this is Family Guy, it could have been so much worse. So, yeah. In terms of now, we get to the part where I talk about how it ranks amongst how the other seasons, the other episodes, talking about its peers over here. Dude, Z-Man's live. Cool. Gotta check out this live stream later. Shame I can't be watching it right now, but I got a life to live. Unfunny joke aside, though, I put Brian Portrait of a Dog at number 3. The Sun Also Draws and The Hero Sits Next Door beat it, and honestly, well, it's been a hot minute since I've rewatched those as well, as honestly, I haven't not been watching a ton of Family Guy recently because, well, to be quite honest, I simply just prefer other shows. I do, I believe I do agree with this rating. In general, I think towards the end, Family Guy season 1 started to get a bit better. It went from good to pretty good. Pretty noticeable difference there. But genuinely, though, I do think those other 2 episodes are a little bit better. I think they're just a bit funnier. The jokes in this episode are like, yeah, they make me chuckle a little bit, but like, I feel like none of the jokes in here are like real pain, like really so funny, it makes it almost hurts a little bit type of thing, you know? Well, it's more of the, yeah, this was funny type of thing. Where, hey, this is a nice little quick gag they got there. And that's another thing early Family Guy used to do really good. They had little jokes, but it's not like modern Family Guy where the joke is simply just that, we're like they're having this real conversation and the character just like butts in with a random line that's supposed to be funny, but just kind of ruins the tension. Again, it's one of those things where I think it's difficult to describe for me, at least, without just showing you an early episode and then showing you like a later episode. It's kind of something you gotta pick up on your own, or determine if you really how you really think it all is. But that's how I view it. Overall, though, Brian Portrait of a Dog is a very good season finale. It's a pretty damn good Family Guy episode. It really helped explore Brian more as a character. He went from just being Peter's smart sidekick to really starting to show his own be his own character with his own pitfalls. And the one thing I'll say makes this kind of similar to a later Family Guy is that Brian has always had his problems. So at least back in season 1, they were still showing. Here's the Modern Thoughts chart. It's so blurry. Oh my god, I cannot see that. I'm sorry, chat. But with this this will be the third 4 out of 5 episode I cover. We have 1 5 out of 5 and 1 3 out of 5. Again, this isn't really. I don't keep this here for any specific reason other than I think it's just kind of cool to see what you guys want me to cover. And for right now, in these early stages of Modern Thoughts, you guys want me to just cover episodes I like generally enough, which is fair. Overall, though, I hope you enjoyed this Modern Thought. All in all, good episode. As always, I not even just welcome. I'm practically begging you to please comment just what you think of the episode. I love chatting about my thoughts with other people as long as you're obviously respectful. And with that, please let me know what other episodes you want me to cover in the comments that I've already reviewed from a past season review, but you want me to take a second look at because I either didn't do the first review justice, or you just want to hear more of my individual opinion on a specific episode of something. With that, I am Z-Man, and take care.